Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. This is a out of the blue show. There was some big news overnight, and Blake shouted me and was like, "Look, we need to do something about this." So, do you want to tell the? I mean, we don't even need to tell the listeners what it's about. I'm sure anybody that loves their MMA knows, right?
I'm pretty sure it's in the title, which always when we do an intro to a show and we're always like, we're talking like we're not revealing who the guest is yet. And then we're like, ladies and gentlemen, it's bloody bloody blah. And it's
do you think anyone's ever gone, Jesus Christ, I never knew that. That's unbelievable.
It's on the artwork, it's written down in all the titles and everything. Like, I don't know who we think we are, who we think we're fooling. But this is obviously a reaction. If you've been living under a rock for the last few hours, this is a reaction to the huge news that Jon Jones has torn ligaments that hold his pectoral muscle together. Doesn't sound pleasant. Whilst having a bit of wrestling training. And with 2.5 weeks until his huge fight against Stipe Miocic at UFC 295 in New York, he's pulled out. Stipe doesn't really want to fight anyone other than Jon Jones. I sort of understand. I can see you're very upset about Jon Jones being injured there. For anyone watching this, not watching this on YouTube, Stu's doing a little cryy face. But the big news is, and the great news is, Sergey Pavlovich, who was the backup fighter for UFC 295, steps in and takes on our boy, Tommy Aspinall.
Yes! This is fucking huge, mate.
It's huge. We've got a British heavyweight title contender. And not just contender, he is challenging for the belt in 2.5 weeks. I mean, where do we start? When you saw it, because you told me about the news. How did you see the news?
My pal Reese, who works at the club I run, he messaged me. I woke up this morning and had a quick look at my phone, and he was like, "Jones is out," and I was like, "No way!" And then like a little while later, he was like, "Aspinall is in," and I was like, "Holy shit!" And I mean, firstly, I guess we was kind of looking forward to Jones Stipe, but I think there's more exciting fights in that division. And I think what we've got is definitely one of those, if not maybe the most exciting fight you could get in that division right now. Pavlovich.
Well,
go on.
No, that doesn't include Jon Jones. I mean, I have to say, I was never into the Stipe Jones fight. It never interested me. I mean, Stipe hasn't fought for a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it's been. He's 41 now, Stipe Miocic. It was billed as the greatest fighter of all time, takes on the greatest heavyweight of all time, because Miocic has the record for title defenses and stuff. And it's like, but really, that's
marketing, and that makes marketing,
sense. But I get it. But equally, is Stipe Miocic the guy he was 3, 4, 5 years ago? No, he's not. And
but coming Jon off Jones, we don't know. We didn't see enough to know.
Well, I think we saw enough against Garn to go, well, this is going well. Like, we still don't know what he does against a heavyweight that's actually like got any takedown defense.
Yeah.
But I just thought Jones versus, and you could pick almost anyone in the top 6 or 7 at heavyweight, is more interesting to me than Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And I know that it's a legacy fight, and I know Stipe is a huge name, and I know he's a great guy, like fireman, all that stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of Stipe, don't get me wrong. But Stipe's coming off of a loss as well, knockout loss to Ngannou and all that. So I would just rather Stipe really come back, get one win, and then fight for the belt. And I understand that he's the biggest name in the heavyweight division. You know, Aspinall, Pavlovich, they're young. They haven't made their names yet. So Jones is like, why am I fighting these guys? But just as a competitive fight, those were better fights.
Right. Well, let's go back to a point you made there. Right. So you wanted to come back, and you'd like to have seen him have a fight, and then fight Jones or whoever was champ at that point.
Yep.
I don't think he had any interest in that. I think he wanted to come back and he wanted the big golden handshake and he wanted the big fight. There's no bigger fight in that division than John Jones. And and like you say, greatest heavyweight of all time versus the GOAT. It's so marketable. It's a big money fight. And I think we would probably have seen him quit after that because I don't think he fancies, an Aspinall, a Garn, maybe a fancy a Garn, I don't know. But there's lots of fighters in there, that are hungry, like Pavlovich. He's not going to want that. And the money probably wouldn't be there to tempt him there. So let's look at where this leaves fighters. Because in my head, if Jones is out, as we've seen at last weekend, we've had two fighters pull out of big fights. And their opponents have maintained their place on that bill, and a substitute has been put in to fight them. Why do you think that fight against Stipe isn't against Aspinall, isn't against a ranked contender, or even Garn? I mean, Garn he's Garn who's number one?
I don't understand what are you asking why Stipe didn't stay on the card?
Yeah.
Well, for the reasons that you said, I think in that, he's interested in the Jones fight. I don't even know I think he's actually more interested in fighting John Jones than he is in fighting for the heavyweight belt again. Don't get me wrong, I think the heavyweight belt's lovely, but I think to be the guy that potentially, he must believe in himself, to be the guy that potentially beats John Jones, that is massive. Not only that, John Jones called him out. So John Jones only really wanted to fight Stipe as well. So they only really wanted to fight each other. They're not interested in the rest of the division. There's, belts are whatever, I think. Well, not whatever. Obviously, Jones has the belt now. Stipe's been heavyweight champion before. I think it would mean more to Stipe's legacy to beat John Jones than it would to win the heavyweight belt again.
I agree with this, but that ship's potentially sailed now because John Jones is out for 8 months, we're told. So let's say, Tom wins and then Jones has recovered. Do they make Jones Stipe, or surely the interim champ fights for the belt? He fights the returning John Jones. And so if that's the case, where does this leave Stipe? Out for 2 years, so what, it'd be 43?
I think they could actually do this in a couple of different ways. Stipe might turn around and go, yep, I'm 42. I was only coming back to fight Jones. I'm not interested in fighting anyone else. See you later. Thanks very much. I've got a lovely life. Like, he lives in Ohio, which, it's not, I think we've said this on the show before. There's parts of the world that some of these fighters live in that are not London or New York or Paris or whatever, that are incredibly expensive places to live in. He lives in Ohio. I imagine that he can buy Ohio. He can probably buy the state of Ohio. Like, it's not somewhere where he has to, be super wealthy. He's already a millionaire. He's probably doing incredibly well for himself there. So he doesn't need the money, especially against people that aren't going to pull in crazy money like John Jones. But I do think there is an opportunity there. And they've done this before in the UFC, where an interim title fight has happened and the heavyweight or the champion of that division comes back and fights someone else and not the interim champion. I believe that happened at middleweight when Bisping fought GSP. Robert Whittaker was already the interim middleweight champion.
Okay.
And Michael Bisping went and fought GSP. So it is very possible that we get, hopefully, a Tom Aspinall win. He beats Pavlovich. He's the interim champion. But John Jones goes, do you know what? For my comeback fight after all this time off and the injury and all that, I don't want to fight an absolute monster in Tom Aspinall or Sergey Pavlovich. I still want the Stipe fight. That's still big for my legacy. It still makes way more money. Like, even champ versus champ, Aspinall Jones, Sergey Jones, or Stipe Jones. Stipe Jones is where the money is. So I think there is definitely a world in which John Jones comes back in 8 months' time, fights Stipe rather than the interim champion in Tom Aspinall or Sergey Pavlovich, whoever the interim champion is, gets into the cage at the end of that fight as if John Jones, because he'll probably beat Stipe, is going to fight the interim champion, and that may never even happen, or it may happen. Who knows?
The other thing I question is the fact that Stipe is fight ready, which is a couple of weeks away from this fight. Okay, so he's been through camp, and so he's ready for the first time in years.
Yep.
I'm sure Tom and Sergey are both in good nick and are training.
But there's an interesting caveat to that.
Okay, we'll get to that. So I wonder then, does Stipe not just go, look, do you know what? I'm on fire at the moment. Like, I am feeling good. Camp's gone well. I'm presuming this is the case. These boys are taking this on a couple of weeks' notice. Like, I could get the interim belt and still probably get my fight purse. Like, do you not think that was a consideration for him?
No, I don't think so. It's all about John Jones. It's about the money of the John Jones fight. Why risk it? Because when Jones comes back, he's still very much in the mix to fight John Jones on John Jones's return, even if an interim champion is out there.
What, 43 potentially?
Yeah. It's 8 months from now. He was never going to win that fight anyway, in my opinion. He was never, ever going to win that fight against Jones anyway. So it sucks. He was probably expecting a few million to enter his bank account in a couple of weeks' time. That's not going to happen. So it sucks for Stipe, but why risk getting knocked out by these young, hungry, I would say at the moment, more talented fighters? Again, nothing wrong with it. Stipe in his prime, fantastic fighter. Stipe at this age, after the time off he's had and all of that, I don't think he gets. I would probably favour everyone in the top 5 of the heavyweight division against Stipe. So I'm not. I'm definitely not thinking that he would go in there and beat any of these guys. So yeah, I don't think it was a consideration. It's the Jones fight. It's Jones or bust for Stipe. Because again, I think he's got a lovely life. He's a fireman as well. He can just go and enjoy his really nice life, or he can earn an absolute fortune fighting John Jones. And if he were to beat John Jones, we've seen crazy things happen. If John Jones goes in with an injury, something mad happens. It's heavyweight MMA. It only takes one shot. If Stipe can go in there and be the guy to beat John Jones, that does far more for his legacy than becoming the heavyweight champ again.
I guess. I just think that there's still big money in staying on this card and fighting whoever they put him in with. And I just think...
not the same. Not the same. You think of the pay-per-view buys. John Jones is a pay-per-view superstar. Pavlovich, no one really cares about Pavlovich other than hardcore fans. And Aspinall, I think he's got way more casual appeal. He's like fun and he's a great fighter, and I think all the British fans will obviously be paying to watch him fight, which
is a very small percentage of the MMA community.
Yeah, like, does he cross? Like, he's not a brash shit talker, is he? He's Tommy Aspinall is one of the most realistic, level-headed fighters you'll ever meet. Like, I think he's got like a good sense of humor. And he seems like a really nice guy. I think he's quite marketable, but he's not got that superstar Conor McGregor, Sean O'Malley, Israel Adesanya type thing about him where he's going to be doing loads of trash talk or doing something really quirky.
Yeah.
He's going to look at that kind of quirky trash talking stuff and just be like, all right, mate, calm down. Do you know what I mean? That's probably what he'd be doing. So he's quite a chilled out guy, Tom. So,
well, you was hanging out with him Saturday. If only we knew.
Oh, I bet he knew. I bet he knew. We asked him on the show. We played a clip from Dana White in which Dana White was saying, "Oh, Tom knows what's happening. Tom knows." And then we were like, "So, Tom, what's going on? What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I can't tell you." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Oh man, I wonder if he knew.
Yeah.
I wonder if he knew." But here's the other thing that I was going to mention earlier. You're talking about
short notice,
people coming in on 2.5 weeks, short notice, all that stuff. Pavlovich was always the backup fighter to this fight. So all right, he's not got to cut weight because it's heavyweight. You don't have to cut weight and all that stuff. But is it possible that Pavlovich has been anticipating something happening in the hope that he gets a shot, and he has been training for 8 weeks? His cardio's on point. He's sharp. He's all of these things. He's been training to fight guys that would want to take him down, like either Stipe or John Jones. And he's gone, I'm going to get to work here because I'm going to earn half a paycheck anyway. Going to get my show money for just turning up and being the backup fighter. Let me take this camp seriously. And if he has been, and Tom's only doing this on 2.5 weeks, I would say on a full camp, I'd go Tom Aspinall all day. Now, I'll pick Tom anyway because I love Tom. But Tom on 2.5 weeks versus Pavlovich, who's been in a 10-week training camp, that's different odds. It's just different.
If we talk about fitness and cardio, if you look through their records, apart from when Tom choked out, Andre
Arlovski.
Everything's round one for both fighters, UFC careers. So they're not generally going into seconds and thirds, and I presume this will obviously be a 5-round fight. And
yeah, we won't need it. Yeah, it's going to be over quicker than that. And
we imagine that, but I don't know. Will these two, both very good strikers, and I think everybody's kind of presumes that Tom's going to have the advantage on the ground. I mean, Pavlovich's background is Roman Greco wrestling, but we don't see it because his fucking hands are like stone, and he just knocks these people into different dimensions. And how do we see this going? Because I think obviously I presume Tom's going to go for takedowns and doing what he does best, but we're also looking at a big, heavy striker in both fighters. But I guess the devastating knockouts, from what we've seen, he definitely is Pavlovich's show reel. But what I think we've got in Tom is far better movement and faster. And, he's got speed and he's got, he's a fantastic boxer. We're talking about a person that has, was going to be a boxer, that has boxed, that has trained with Tyson Fury, arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. And, he's moved around the rings with these people. Like, he knows how to, deal with a striker. But, boy, there's some big bombs coming his way. And you just hope, that his cardio's good. And if he can avoid them big, heavy shots, are we going to see Pavlovich move into the latter rounds and a new territory that he's not necessarily, experienced in? I don't know. There's a lot of questions around this, and I just when you start talking about, I didn't realise he was the backup fighter. That's now, as soon as you said it, I had a little kind of shoulder shudder. I was like, oh no.
Again, if they were both on the same, either 10-week camp or even both coming in short notice, 2.5 weeks, I'd go Pavlovich's. I don't want to say I got a puncher's chance because that feels disrespectful to Pavlovich. He's got good hands as well as heavy hands. But I think Tom's movement is the way he moves around the cage. He can elude people. He can explode into range and then back out of range. And obviously phenomenal ground game, phenomenal jiu-jitsu. So I would say Tom should have all the advantages outside of just power. But that again, can you get up to speed on 2.5 weeks and match what Pavlovich has been doing in potentially 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is? So I don't know. You kind of hope that Pavlovich has just gone, oh yeah, I'll be backup fighter. None of them pulling out. It's fine. I'll just chill out for a bit and eat some donuts and just turn up on the day. And now he's going, oh no, I should have been training. But
that's wishful thinking, I think, Mr. Harrison.
Yeah, probably is. But it's I just really want Tom to win. I really want Tom to be amazing to have like a British heavyweight champion. And I say I think he's got all the skills to do it. I think he's got the mentality to do it. Got to avoid that big right hand. He's got to avoid the heavy hands of Pavlovich. But Tom's not stupid. He's defensively really good. He doesn't get into brawls. He, as I say, he uses his movement. He's in and out of range. So, yeah, he's not going to go the way of Tuivasa or Derek Lewis or anything like that. You know, he's too smart for that. So it's just whether or not does he get caught on the way in, or does he go for a takedown and sort of it gets stuffed, and on the break he eats a right that just lays him out. Like, we don't know, but I can definitely see. I can see either guy taking this in the first round. I really, really can.
Yeah.
But you're just hoping it's that Tom is just elusive, slips something, and then just explodes in with like a really quick 1-2 that just puts Pavlovich on his heels. And then you're looking at punches against the fence or something that just leads it to a finish. And that'd be great. But I'll be amazed if we see as a third or maybe even a second round. I'd be amazed.
I mean, it's what makes this sport so exciting, right? And I mean, props to the UFC. I mean, they've literally knocked it out of the park these last few weeks, haven't they? When you know, we said about it when we were speaking about Volkan Usman that you'd not get that in boxing. You know, what other organisation would you get that in any kind of combat sport? The UFC just at the moment is delivering, and they're delivering big cards. And when them cards go wonky, they fill them with absolute gold, which is what we're going to get when we see Tom fight Sergey. I kind of lean with pretty much what you said. I think we're going to see him move. We're going to see Tom moving lots and then picking his moment. And you've seen that when he comes in, he's so fast and his feet move so quickly. And to see that, and you know, to put him on, you know, to put Sergey on the back foot, and like you say, and then ideally get him down and choke him out, would be fantastic. And what a moment. We've all been saying, you know, most people that we've ever spoke to or interviewed, when we've said who's going to be the next, you know, British champ, everybody's been saying Tom Aspinall. You know, from watching, you know, Tom's fights, you know, as soon as he sort of made his way into the UFC, the hype around him, you know, it's not been crazy hype that, like, you know, but it's always been that kind of, everybody's got that kind of little nod that, like, yeah, Tom Aspinall, he's the man. He's the one to watch. He's gonna, you know, he's gonna get that belt at some point. And
it's almost not been. It's like been a knowing.
Yeah.
Like with some people, there's hype, but with Tom, it feels like everyone just knows.
That's so true. Really, that's exactly what I was trying to get at. You've nailed it there, mate.
There's hype and there's knowing, and like Sean O'Malley, it was hype.
Yeah.
And he proved to everyone that had that like, yes, totally. No, the hype is real. With Conor, I feel like it was hype. It was like, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, look what he did to Aldo. It's real.
Yeah.
With this, you're like, no, it's going to be Tom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be Tom. Like, and I'm that's not me saying he's definitely going to beat Pavlovich. Pavlovich is a real problem. But, you know, Tom being the age, how old's Tom now? He's not old, is he?
No.
He's like early 30s, Tom. I don't know. I'm just going to have to look this up now.
Yeah, I can tell you.
But my point is that he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old. He could go for another 8 years.
Yeah.
How can Tom, at 30 years old, and I'd say he's still maybe not even in his prime as a heavyweight yet, because heavyweights take that bit longer. He's 30 years old.
Yeah.
And he's so well-rounded for a heavyweight. He's got speed, athleticism, crisp hands. He's got a great ground game. Like, most heavyweights aren't that well-rounded. So he can go the GSP route and just go, oh, you're a good striker, I'm going to take you down. Oh, you're a good wrestler, I'm going to just box you up on the feet. And just kind of do whatever you're not good at, because he's a smart fighter as well. He's got great mentality. He doesn't get just pulled into just random wars and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think if it's not now, it still will be. And that's been the vibe following Tom, that it's going to happen at some point, and it may just happen in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, mate. I can't fucking wait. I mean, I guess, have we got anything else to say on this? I think we kind of just, strap in and wait for it now.
Strap in, guys. The UFC. It's a crazy, crazy place. But yeah, funnily enough, heavyweights, we've got an interview with Mick Parkin, who trained with Tom recently, coming out on Monday. And so we've got that coming out. We interviewed Mick Parkin.
He talks about training with Tom on there, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, and he probably also talks about the upcoming fight between Stipe Miocic and John Jones. So you can fast forward that bit, but most of it is talking about Mick, his journey, and it's really great to see again another young British heavyweight coming through, learning from Tom Aspinall, and who knows, in the future we could have two guys right up there in the top 5. One of them is champ, all that kind of stuff, and then after that, the following week, we will be putting out our pre-295 episode. So who knows? There could be more drama to come. And there'll be more fights. Because don't forget, Tom versus Pavlovich is only the co-main event.
Yeah, boy.
The main event is Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira, which, oh my God, inject it into my eyeballs. That is going to be one of the greatest fights. Again, I could see both those title fights just being done within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be crazy fights. I cannot wait for Pereira versus Prochazka. So that card is going to be really fun. And just, I think, I don't know how good the undercard is, but I know Benoit Saint-Denis is fighting, I think, Matt Frivola as the opener to that main card as well. If you don't know any of those guys are going to put on an absolute show. That is your fight of the night kind of shoe-in for that night. That is going to be a crazy war to open the night. So again, UFC 295 from New York looks like it's going to be a really good, fun night.
Absolutely. There's one other little bit while we're talking news. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but there's big... The kind of rumours that are circulating is that MVP has signed with the UFC.
Yes.
Have you seen anything that is kind of close to sort of confirming that? A lot of the kind of big MMA news groups have been posting about it, but I think it's obviously been dwarfed in the Aspinall Pavlovich Jones news. But
so as we're recording this, I don't think there's been an official announcement, but it's sort of everything. But like even like. There's a lot of really crappy MMA sites out there that put up a load of nonsense and like they put together graphics where it's like something is no way agreed, but they're just trying to get it out there. Even the reputable sites are putting out that it seems likely that there'll be an announcement coming soon. MVP has gone to the UFC. Well, I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I have got my rankings up because I'd love to give him a ranked fighter straight away. Who are you looking at welterweight rankings? I'm just seeing it. Kevin Holland's maybe a good shout.
Kevin Holland makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Because he's not too high up, but it's also a fun striker. And that's what you want for MVP. MVP's no spring chicken either. You want him fighting the strikers. Wonderboy Thompson is always the fight I've wanted, but he's got his fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov coming.
Why don't people just go, do you know what, Wonderboy? We're not going to feed you to this animal at the moment because we like you. You're a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be going anywhere near Shavkat. Let's just kind of put that on ice and let's get you fighting MVP. I mean, Ian Gary. I mean, I don't see that feature in it. I think there's a route for Ian Gary, and I don't think they're kind of sort of the golden fights like the Wonder Boys and the MVPs feature quite on that. I think you're right. I think Kevin Holland's a great fight for him.
That's the one, isn't it? Also, Gary is booked against Luque.
Of course.
So so that makes all the sense in the world. But yeah, I think Kevin Holland is the one. Shoots him straight into the top 15. After that, he could fight Wonderboy, who will probably lose to Rakhmonov. And all of a sudden, you've got MVP straight into like the top 6 or 7. And then he might have to fight a wrestler after that. And we'll see how that goes. But it could be really fun.
It will be fun. But I think when he gets into that, I see the fairy tale ending. I don't see MVP dealing with the likes of, whether we see Usman at welterweight again, I don't know. But dealing with your Bilals and your Gilbert Burns, I don't think, or Shavkat, I don't see MVP kind of fitting in too well there. I think that the peripheral fights and the kind of fun fights, I think we could see something really exciting from MVP because he's a fan favourite and he delivers, a very unique fight style which people like to watch. But that welterweight, top 5, I don't know. I'd be surprised to see him doing too much damage within that. But who knows? Who knows?
I just say I have to apologize to anyone watching this on YouTube because I started this and I was like, I looked like an luminous white ghost because the light was coming through the blinds, and now all the light has gone, and it's like you're watching me in some kind of thriller movie because it's just super dark unless I'm turning to like that side.
No one's looking at you, mate. Not all the time. This is on the screen.
No, yeah, of course that orange, orange only way is Essex Satsuma face. But yeah, it's a shame you're not sat opposite me. I'd be lit by your face.
The glow.
The glow.
All right.
Well, I really enjoyed this. There's a random little breaking news episode for you there. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely subscribe, otherwise you may well miss Mick Parkin's episode, which comes out, as Blake said, next week. And if you can't wait until then to hear our dulcet tones, go get stuck into the archives, because there is 100 and however many episodes now that you can go and get immersed in with all of your favourite fighters. Go check out our chat with Tom. We had Tom on, blimey, over a year ago now, I think, and he's a delight. So go and check out Tom telling us about how he got into mixed martial arts and his journey to the point of when we recorded. Other than that, we'll see you next time.
We will. Bye, guys.